Over the last 5 weeks, my colleague Dia Rekhi and I brought you conversations with industries ministers of the southern states. The ministers spoke about the investment scenario, sectors driving their growth story, and above all, how competitive they all have been. Today, we will wrap up our weekly series, South Capital, as Dia and I dissect the key takeaways. It is Friday, the 29th of August, and you're listening to the Morning Brief. So, Dia, you interviewed the Tamil Nadu Industries Minister, Mr. Raja, and Tamil Nadu and Karnataka have so far been leading in investments. So, what are the key takeaways from here? What do you think?
I think, Nidhi, when we talk of Tamil Nadu specifically, I feel like there is a push to move outside of just Chennai and other clusters. And this seems to be a theme throughout, which I thought was interesting. Even in your conversations, it was a recurring theme, right? Beyond Bangalore, beyond Hyderabad. Those kinds of things seem to be exciting. The formation of new clusters is another aspect that I think is extremely interesting, whether it is Winfast, which recently set up in Tuticorin or Toothukudi as it's called. No one would think that an auto company would set up literally in the middle of nowhere, but the state has managed to sort of push industries to see potential in places outside of established hubs. And I think that was one of my biggest takeaways, that we're going to see a lot more exciting stuff happening outside of established metros.
Yeah, so that seemed to be the common thread running through Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, I felt. In case of Andhra, I thought there was a slight difference where Andhra is trying to really spread out its development, concentrating on a few cities, but it does not have a Hyderabad, though it's trying really hard to make Vizag and other cities, bring in investments there.
But really interesting that they are extremely competitive and not leaving any stone unturned, whether it is being aggressive with asking investors to come there or anything else. It's been quite interesting.
Actually, that is, you're right. Yeah, it's very interesting. The way, the competition is amongst all these southern states. It's so competitive that once a company, gets incentives from a particular state, they also scout around for what's the best deal for them from other
Absolutely.
states. And then you see all the, states giving them, say, free land if they can, and other smaller incentives as well.
Yeah, in fact, I completely agree. When there is an investment that goes somewhere else, which is what we spoke about even in our Telangana episode, where ASIP went to Andhra, right? It was initially supposed to go to Telangana and then it went off to Andhra. There is a sense of, we have been wronged. And that was another thing that came out quite often in most of our conversations, right? That what is rightfully ours is being snatched in a sense because when we're an opposition rule state.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Mr. Rajiv, Kerala minister, in our interview also said that, recently the center has given a go ahead to a industrial smart city. They had even hired a consultant to make a master plan. That's when the center said that they will not be doing this in Kerala. So that sense of being wronged is very much there in opposition rule states. In fact, you see so much of competition and so much of angst against Andhra since Mr. Naidu took over as chief minister. And, his son and IT minister, Nara Lokesh, whom we had on the show also. Like we saw very recently in Karnataka's case, when in Devanahalli, they had to cancel the land acquisition for their aerospace hub. He took to Twitter and he said that, just cross the border and we have ample land.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting in your conversation with Mr. Patil was this entire aspect where he spoke of how they're sort of professionalizing their entire investment promotion agency. which is something that Andhra, erstwhile Andhra, not the Telangana from now, but Andhra from that time had started. TN also has something similar where it's a completely professional organization where you have an IAS officer at the helm, but you also have like an MD and CEO and so on. We've also seen that, say, Tamil Nadu has set up, desks in different countries for their agency to have this sort of personal time and engagement with people on the ground there, whether it is in Japan or Taiwan or anywhere else. So, isn't that also an interesting aspect that we are seeing this
Oh, yes,
becoming
yes.
so important?
That's so correct. In fact, Andhra, after Mr. Naidu took over last June, Andhra's Economic Development Board, they have really spruced up. In fact, some people have been poached from Tamil Nadu's agency and brought to Andhra to actually, up the game. Mr. Patil said in our interviews also that they are trying to bring in talent from the private sector, from the corporate sector, and give that kind of backing to their investment promotion agency. Even in Nara Lokesh's interview, he says that, we handhold companies till the very end.
Another thing that I feel has led to, since you spoke about hand holding and being there for investors, it sort of reminded me of the fact that one of the reasons why Tamil Nadu is where it is in terms of manufacturing and industry is mainly because of the fact that there's been political stability. Do you feel, Nidhi, that that might be a bit of a
Yeah.
drawback when it comes to other states?
Yeah, yeah, you're so right. It's not just political stability. See, we've seen a change in regimes also, Nadia. In Tamil Nadu, we've seen, right? DMK, AIA DMK, now DMK again.
Correct.
I think it is a very strong bureaucracy. Like, in Andhra, there has always been a flip flop. So when there is a change, they go back on their policies as well. We've seen with the previous regime how Naidu's entire Amravati as a capital city was shelved the moment the previous regime under YSRCP, under Jagan Mohan Reddy came. But that we don't see in Tamil Nadu and in Karnataka. They continue with these policies. If it's a good policy, if they agree with it broadly, they'll continue with it. And I think it is more to do with how strong the bureaucracy is and how they guide the political leadership. There are processes, there are policies. Like in your Telangana minister's interview, Mr. Sridhar Babu actually says that, we didn't have an MSME policy. We've just brought forth. In Andhra, they have suddenly come out with a spate of policies. We have an, aerospace policy, we have a defense policy. So you have a framework to work under. It gives a lot of investor confidence, I think, Dia.
Absolutely. And in fact, Nidhi, I think investor confidence at this juncture, especially, is going to be crucial because there's so much volatility with the entire Trump tariff situation and even otherwise that I think there was a lot of nervousness that I sensed even with my interviews. Just few days back, in fact, Minister Raja had a meeting where he had MSMEs and representatives from different sectors come in because I think if there is going to be an impact, the state that will be worst impacted would be TN because of the amount of manufacturing that's done here and so on. But I wanted to know your thoughts on that. How crucial do you see this period for all of these states? I think the competition is going to get even more intense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There'll be a lot of impact on different sectors, which people are realizing now, governments are realizing now. Like, shrimp farming in Andhra, right? So their a majority of their exports are to US, and this industry will totally be killed if these kind of tariffs actually fructify on the ground, which they seem to be. And I think it is here that the center state relationships become very crucial. In the sense, if you are party in that government, they do help you in helping that particular sector and coming out with certain policies or decisions that could really help you. Like, you see, a lot of central government projects are actually going to Andhra. So here I think any tariff or anything that you have, the center state relations do take primacy here.
which will be what is interesting to watch play out, right? Because you have four opposition ruled states and then you have AP.
And Andhra has been absolutely cutthroat about it. So while prepping for the series, I was talking to their Economic Development Board officials, and they have been scouting for investments in other countries, and it comes down to such basics that they actually study the culture of that country, and they see how, say a particular country wants its businesses license with the Indian counterpart and set up businesses here. So they go down to these basic things that, okay, this country, their entire social life runs around golf and karaoke over weekends. So let's just throw in that, okay, fine, come set up shop here. We will help you set up golf courses in this mini, say, Vietnam, Taiwan, or something. So what all they do to sweeten the deal is very interesting.
So, actually, first of all, that is an incredible point, and I can't stress enough how important that is, especially for states like Tamil Nadu, where, say, for instance, alcohol is a state subject, right? So, if you do go out, you have to go to, say, a five-star to get alcohol, or there are enough and more pubs that have opened up in Chennai now. It wasn't the case earlier. But I think as they look to go beyond Chennai and attract talent or attract investment in places like Toothukudi or Coimbatore or elsewhere, I think this is going to become an ask even more from companies as well as executives that we want golf courses. That was something that was said even in my talks with the minister, that golf courses is a huge demand actually that they have.
Yeah,
I mean, this
it's
is
so
not related.
interesting when you said no golf courses, and one would not think that these are things that are on the table when they actually talk of investments and all, but it's actually a very culture thing, golf courses, karaoke bars.
In fact, I mean, I know this is not related to the South per se, but since we're talking about building ecosystems and industrial ecosystem in a sense, Gujarat is facing a similar issue. I mean, it's a dry state, but in Gujarat as well, apparently they are looking at, having like a Vietnam street or a Taiwan street and those kinds of things to ensure that there's that local flavor and local food that they have available for all of those engineers coming in from other countries. I think that's going to be an interesting sort of way
Yeah.
that we'll see things develop.
So, speaking of ecosystem, what was also very interesting was how these states bank upon the established ecosystems of other states. Like, for instance, Andhra, in the chief minister's constituency, which is Kuppam. Now, Kuppam is in the tri-state area, and what is very interesting is that Kuppam, though an airport is planned there, Kuppam actually is closer to Bengaluru airport than Bengaluru is close to Bengaluru airport. So Kuppam is actually like just an hour's drive from Bengaluru airport. So what really is interesting is when these states plan their industries or their investments, they actually sell the ecosystem of the other states. So it's like they're interdependent.
Absolutely. I mean, the best example is Hosur, right? It came up so many
Yeah.
times that we are right at the border and they are thinking of getting an airport at Hosur. Now, I think an airport in Hosur, if they can pull it off, will be pretty significant. It'll push a lot of traffic from South Bangalore that would normally have to go all the way to the Bangalore airport. And Hosur already has sort of this thriving ecosystem and a lot of big companies in the auto space and even electronics manufacturing now, right? With Tata Electronics and so on already set up there.
And that is exactly why I think ministers do talk about the speed of doing business. It's not no longer just the ease of doing business, it's how quickly your project is off the ground and gets functional. That's going to
Absolutely.
be the way forward, I think, dear. What do you think?
I think so too. But the other thing that they mentioned, which was interesting, was the fact that it's not just about the MOUs, right? The jobs aspect kept coming up. But what I thought was interesting was in Kerala's case, they said that, we can't do manufacturing the way TN does manufacturing, but we are going to focus on sort of more high skill jobs. We are moving towards more future facing industries in a sense also, whether it is Kerala in the sense that you have an innovation hub, or it's Telangana where they're talking of an AI city and having AI skills for people there.
Yeah, this is so interesting, no? When you mention AI, everybody, each of the ministers, they're going so big on AI. That we are skilling them like that. That's what Mr. Sridhar Babu said. Even Karnataka, Mr. Patil also said that, AI is going to be a thrust. So, yes, the new sectors, the new industries seem to be like that.
But so far as sectors are concerned, Nidhi, what did you feel were the top sectors basis your interactions?
So I think semiconductors being one. All the states seem to be vying for semiconductors. Also, I think aerospace and defense need to be closely watched with the Operation Sindoor and the government's entire thrust on Make in India. I think that is to watch out for.
This semiconductor aspect is something everyone spoke about. I don't know
Yeah.
why it's giving me this gold rush kind of feel where everyone wants to be a
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of it. And,
Yeah,
you know,
I think
yeah.
I think post COVID, I think post COVID, the world realized, in fact, in India more so, that nothing moves without semiconductors. Even in the Independence Day speech, the Prime Minister says so, that by the end of this year, we will have indigenous semiconductor chips in the market. It is so important for so many industries.
Sure,
Imagine,
sure.
imagine an industries minister of a state taking to X and saying that, stepmotherly treatment. That's exactly what Sridhar Babu did when ASIP was given. That project got to Andhra and not Telangana. In fact, in one of the conversations, an official told us, we did a story for ET Print. This project for Telangana had been pending with the government since 2023, January 2023. The company had applied for clearances under the ISM, the India Semiconductor Mission, in January 2023, and things didn't move. So that's exactly this feeling. It's one of the most sought after manufacturing facilities.
And even on the design side, right? I mean, India already has a lot of design work that is done, but especially with this entire move towards having an indigenous chip and, manufacturing in India, I think the design element as well is going to be more pronounced. And maybe, places like Kerala then can add to that as well. Bangalore, of course, is established in that sense, Hyderabad as well. Tamil Nadu also has, smaller innovation hubs. They have educational institutions like IIT Madras that do a lot of work in these domains. So I think it'll be interesting to see also where Kerala goes, because from a tourism to innovation hub, I thought that was my takeaway from the interaction with Mr. Rajiv, and I thought that was an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, actually, the most interesting part about the series doing it was an eye opener was Kerala. It was so amazing the kind of steps the state is taking. Such a small state, the smallest of all the South Indian states, and such proactive steps. And I do remember asking the minister that on one hand. When Comrade Jyoti Basu was attracting investments in West Bengal in the 1990s, and to now what the state is doing. It is so interesting to see a CPIM run state doing all this.
I thought GCCs was another
Yeah. Yeah.
aspect that everyone spoke about.
Everyone is jumping onto it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
GCCs is like another thing. So you have Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, even Andhra. Andhra has an entire GCC policy.
But Nidhi, when it comes to challenges, what do you feel were the biggest challenges that you foresee for the states that you interviewed, for example, or even otherwise?
I think decentralization is a very, very big challenge for the states. Like Mr. Patil said in the Karnataka episode, that all states face this challenge, that their investments, their development is very capital centric. For them, going beyond Bangalore has been a challenge.
I think while it sounds lovely and it would be great, to have more distributed growth in that sense, It's not going to be easy at all. In your script, you had brought out that lovely point that 21 districts are far behind when it comes to growth in the state, right? So bringing those 21 districts up to speed is going to be difficult. In that sense, I think TN does have a bit of an edge, because whether it is your Coimbatore, which is already an established manufacturing, textile, and apparel hub, or you have places like Hosur, which is again auto, electronics cluster. But apart from that, these new places, providing them with the infrastructure they need, I think will be a big challenge.
I feel that, the states need to also identify which sectors are not affected by or are not driven by their proximity to already established ecosystems. For instance, Tamil Nadu. Now you see certain sectors, certain industries like, say, footwear manufacturers actually moving towards rural Tamil Nadu, right? So when you set up shops there is a different requirement altogether. So when the states start actively identifying these sectors, and I'm sure they're doing that because they can foresee these challenges of paucity of land specifically.
I also wanted to ask you, Nidhi, you briefly spoke about the labor aspect. And I think that's going to be another crucial one, because we've seen in recent times that whether it is the Samsung facility where you had a labor strike for the longest time over wage hikes, or that entire incident at the Wistron facility in Karnataka where it pretty much it was vandalized over the fact that they were not paid on time and so on. I think with larger ticket investments, mega factories, the labor factor is going to be another huge component when investors look at a state. I also think that we are going to see a lot more sort of strife between labor and companies.
You're really right about labor being a challenge, and not just in terms of strikes. Not just that. What about skilled labor there? I think that is such a requirement. All ministers in our series spoke about skilled labor. Mr. Raja spoke about how they are training the labor. I think even in your Telangana episode, Mr. Sridhar Babu said that we want our labor force to be AI ready, right? There was an entire question on that. And I think none of the states are actually mapping their labor force as to the skill set that is required to the industry. We are just banking, I think, somewhere only on migrant laborers. Like, if there is a requirement in a particular state for a particular sector, and if there is an industry or an investment coming up, labor required for that will be attracted to it, rather than it being the other way, that we are training the labor force in that particular skill in that particular sector.
I think that's exactly how it's going to be. We've had issues where people are now not allowing Chinese engineers to come in because of the geopolitical issue, or rather, they are being sent back. Right? We saw that with Foxconn, for instance. So, in that situation, you're going to need a local skilled labor who can tide you through periods of geopolitical instability. So, I think that will be the key.
Decentralization of our investments, also our labor force, two key things to look at.
If you had to boil down this entire series and episode to say one or two words, what would they be?
Political stability, I think. I think continuity in policy is extremely important, and that is why you need to inspire investor confidence. You need to give them that we are serious about our policies and how we are taking ourselves seriously. I think everyone, even it's not a state specific thing. I think it's a country specific thing. We need to show that we mean business, and there are not going to be any flip flops. That's been my key takeaway. What about you, dear?
I think for me, it would be competition. We started off with that, we're ending with that. But I think it boils down. This entire series has been
Yeah,
competition, I think,
yeah.
in terms of just the competition between states, the competition for investments. I see it intensifying as we go forward. And hopefully, we'll do sequel to this series whenever
Yes,
that
let's
happens. Yeah.
let the best state win.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
It's been a great series, and it's curtains. And I think if our listeners have some thoughts, obviously free to drop that in.
100%. Super. I think we're good.
Okay. This episode was sound designed by Rajas Nayak and produced by Vinay Joshi. Executive producers Anirban Chaudhary and Arijit Barman. Thank you for listening, and if you like this episode, do spread the word. All new episodes of the Morning Brief podcast drop every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on the streaming platform of your choice. Hope you enjoyed our series South Capital. I'm Nidhi Sharma signing off. Have a great weekend.